Totally. Loved seeing Max. What about this? And I'm not coming for Tamra today, but I mean, she does just keep talking. What about this statement she recently made that, she would be a little bit hesitant about talking about my minor child's sexuality. And I think she's referring to Kat in this.
Yeah.
But then she does go on to say, I don't know, this is a quote, one daughter came out as bisexual and another daughter has come out as lesbian. I just don't know what I would make. I just don't know that I would make that my storyline.
I saw that. That's why I texted Tamra. I go, why are you saying that? So I would never use my children as a storyline, ever. My kids have their own stories to tell. And for example, with Max, I knew she was gay way before she came out. She came out publicly in her own time when she wanted to. It had nothing to do with me. That's when she came out. Now, was that part of the impetus for us coming back? As I told you earlier, yes, because I thought, okay, well, Max is out. That's something that we can, let people see how normal this is. And yes, of course, that was something in the back of our minds. And it was something we discussed with her before we made the decision to come back on the show. Hey, this is something that we think is interesting and could help people. How do you feel about this? And she was like, yeah. So you saw, she had written a book. We did a book party. We talked about it. It was all you see Noella running up to her. Oh my God, you're bisexual. But you're like, Max isn't weirded out by it. She's like, just fine. And that's where I thought that was going. Of course, I knew Kat was gay as well, but again, it's her story to tell. And it wasn't a big, because you saw it, it wasn't a big coming out conversation. It was actually, it was supposed to be just this moment where we were gardening. So I have 4 kids, and it was like, as I usually do, I do alone things with my kids. And so we have this edible garden on the side of our house, and Kat wanted to turn one of the planters into flowers. And I was like, sure. And so, it was during the filming time. I'm like, let's film it. And she's like, okay, great. And so we sat down to film it. It wasn't an intended conversation. It just was the conversation. And that's where this show can work really beautifully and not just be a shit show of drama and this and that, and have these authentic moments with your children or your parents or your friends that, resonates with people. I'm so proud of the fact that she felt comfortable with cameras around to even have that conversation and be open about it. And even afterwards, I was like, hey, if you're not okay with that, I'll call the producers and talk to them and see. She was like, no, fine.
Right. That makes sense. At that age, if she wasn't, I was like, why is that on camera? You could have probably called and had a talk with someone.
I guess, but it didn't go in that direction. But what's so ridiculous about Tamra saying that is that, clearly that means there are people out there that's what they do, right? They parade their children around. They make up storylines. They manufacture storylines, all of this stuff. I don't do that. My brain would never work in that direction.
Right. I'm just curious, as a gay man, did you know, not before, but did you know that your children were bisexual, lesbian before they even told you, not came out, just had a conversation? Not that you sit around, you're a mother, you obviously think of things in your children's lives.
Yeah. With Max a little bit, I wasn't surprised, but I didn't really think about it. I was surprised with Kat because Kat, she was boy crazy for a while. Crazy boy crazy when she was 12, 11, 10, I don't know, boy crazy. And so then she went through a period of exploration where she was talking about, all different kinds of pansexuality, all these, and she's the one that taught me non-binary and all these terms and all these things that I didn't grow up with. I didn't know, new concepts for me. And she's so smart and so well studied. She's a brilliant student too. She's just very bright. And so I would come to her and I'd be like, hey, I saw this, explain to me the difference between, this and this. And she would. And so it was really, I got such an education from her. That's why I think I even said it. I can't remember. I think I said in that scene, I think I said, I've learned so much from you because with Kat, I didn't know.
That makes sense. Listen, I'm a gay man and I grew up, at a different time too, closer to yours, obviously, than your children's. And I also didn't understand things when certain terms when they were first introduced to our generation, Heather. I was like, what? And I was like, okay, I understand this maybe more being gay, but not necessarily, so that's great.
But I was just glad that, she was so open and honest. And I think, honestly, it was not very nice of the two of them to talk like that.
It's not. I mean, do you think ex-housewives that are not currently, you're always a housewife, maybe you'll be back. Do you think housewives that are not on the show anymore should just not talk about it?
Look, I think that post-housewives, you have to find your lane, right? And I think that if you are making a living or extending your brand through a podcast and you're doing like an after show and you're giving your opinions and stuff like that, a lot of people do that sort of thing. And that I get. I think if you're trying to make a living off of poaching on former castmates and, just spreading hate and vitriol, I have no time for that. And that's not a great lane to be in.
When you say
and
that,
I'm not talking about Tamra.
I was just going to say, I assume you're talking about another ex-cast member of yours.
But that I find pathetic.
That makes sense. Now that you're back in our lives, are you happy you came back? Are you happy that you were part of the season?
It's such a double-edged sword. I'll tell you that I'm super grateful for the platform. And it was not an easy season for many reasons. And, but I'll say like those scenes with the kids, I would say I would have done it again.
That makes a lot of sense. And you have no regrets from this season, or do you have any regrets?
Yeah, of course. No one's perfect. Of course I regret things, but that's what the reunion is for.
That is what the reunion is for. How is Terry doing these days? And does he still watch himself on Botched each week when it's on?
He watches himself on a loop on Botched. He's great. He's fantastic. We were just, we were in New York doing press and we were there for Valentine's Day and we had a great time. And then we took a couple of the kids to Aspen and did a little snow. 2 of our kids hate snow, 2 love snow. So we went and did that. And now we're back.
You are back. Well, as we wrap up, you say we are going to see a lot of stuff as we end the season, authentic connections. It ends in a way we've never seen, sets it up for next season. We have this reunion. Listen, if I were in Vegas and I was going to put the money down on like the red chip, I would say, you're going to be asked back, Heather. So, I assume you're going to definitely sign on that dotted line when that contract is put in front of you.